and thank you for joining us as we share important information for our students, parents, staff, and community about the 2020-2021 school year. This morning you will hear from our superintendent, Dr. Donald Fenoy, who will give an overview of the opening of schools. Next will be Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Keith Oswald, who will update you regarding COVID-19 related guidelines and changes for both students and staff while we're in distance learning and when campuses open. Next will be Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Glenda Sheffield, who will join us to explain how distance learning has evolved and how instruction will look when the district reopens campuses. Following Dr. Sheffield will be Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Mike Burke, with an update on computer distribution, expanded Wi-Fi, PP&E purchases, and other COVID-19 related expenditures. Chief Operating Officer, Ms. Wanda Paul, will update you concerning maintenance and custodial improvements over the summer and heading into the new school year. Ms. Paul also has important information regarding feeding sites for our students. School Police Chief Frank Kitzero, will discuss the role of his officers both in distance learning and when campuses reopen. And finally, Chief of Human Resources, Dr. Gonzalo LaCava, will share an update on school personnel both in distance learning and when our campuses reopen. As you have just learned, individual district administrators will address specific topics based on their areas of expertise and leadership. In an effort to maintain social distancing, I request that you ask individual speakers questions right after they speak to minimize people traveling back and forth to the podium. And now I'd like to welcome our superintendent, Dr. Donald Fenoy, to start us off.
Well, good morning, everybody. To our students, staff, parents, and guardians watching from home, welcome to the start of the 2020-2021 school year. In just 6 days, on August 31st, I look forward to welcoming back our students and staff to schools. As you know, this will not be a typical year. We are starting classes in distance learning because of COVID-19, but please know the school board and I are committed to reopening our campuses as soon as it is safer to do so. Even when the district does return to reopen campuses, parents will still have a choice if they want to send their children back to brick and mortar or continue in the distance learning platform. In the meantime, while we are exclusively in distance learning, students will enjoy a more robust form of at-home instruction than they did in the spring. Students and parents, I want you to know that distance learning starting August 31st will closely resemble in-person instruction. Teachers will meet with students live every day, 5 days a week in their Google Classrooms. Students will have daily activities and instructors will measure your progress and they will take attendance. You will be hearing much more about the changes we made to distance learning in a few minutes from our academic administrators. Parents, it is critical that you make sure that your contact information is up to date. The district sent home an email yesterday that included a lot of important information, including how to check to see if your information is current, and if not, how to change it. Schools are also reaching out to families individually, so I'm asking all parents and community members, if you have neighbors that have children in schools and they have not received any of this information from the school district, tell them to please contact their schools to update that information. Parents, the district recognizes the impact COVID-19 is having on our students. In addition to academics, distance learning will include activities focused on social and emotional learning. Parents, the district will address needs related to behavioral and mental health through online, phone, and in-person interaction. Student wellness support will include mental and behavioral health services provided by certified school counselors, bilingual school counselors, school psychologists, family counselors, and behavior and mental health professionals. Parents and guardians, I also encourage you to motivate your students to participate and be patient with them, but also be patient with yourselves. As an educator and as a father of 2 young children, I understand that this is a stressful time. Please know that your children's teachers are here for you. I wish I could give you a perfect roadmap for how the months ahead will look. But the reality is this pandemic is constantly evolving. As we said from the beginning, things are changing by the minute, the hour, and the day. And we're pivoting and making those adjustments as necessary. What may be best practice today may change tomorrow based on internal and external factors. I refer to this as the red light, green light time. We will pivot as necessary, but we will always make decisions based on the best interest of our students and staff. I know you have a lot of questions, so I encourage you to read through the electronic guidebook that the district sent home to you last night. You will also find answers on our website at palmbeachschools.org. Additionally, we have opened a back-to-school helpline with operators available to answer your questions in English, Spanish, and in Haitian Creole. The phone number to call is 561-969-5840. Again, that's 561-969-5840. Many of your questions will also be answered by our speakers this morning. Again, I want to say welcome to all of our families back to this very different school year. But it's going to be exciting because we're going to make it exciting. At this time, I'd like to invite to the podium our Deputy Superintendent, Keith Oswald, who will speak more about the specifics of our staff and student guidelines as we endeavor into this new journey. Thank you, and welcome to 2020-2021 school year.
Good morning, and welcome back to school. A lot of changes have been made since we left school back in May. We put out a number of surveys that really helped enhance what's going to be going on this school year with distance learning. Dr. Sheffield will come up in a few moments to talk about those changes where we're talking about schools following their regular bell schedule and teaching live throughout the day. In addition, we learned a lot about student connectivity in this survey. So school administrators have been busy deploying additional devices as well as assisting families who are in need of internet connectivity. Mr. Burke will provide more information on this project in a few moments. With school starting, it's important to make sure that your child's registered. So for those families in particular, we're speaking to kindergarten families, or if you're new to the area, if you have not registered because of some of the confusion throughout this school year, please be sure to call your school immediately and schedule an appointment to register your child this week so that they can start on time on Monday. In addition, now more than ever, it is critical that students' immunizational records and shot records are up to date. So please schedule an appointment for your doctor if you've not done that as well. As indicated by Dr. Fenoy, when we return back to bricks and mortars, families will have an option to stay in distance learning. Recently, we sent out a questionnaire, and approximately 20% of our families indicated that their child would remain in distance learning. Another 37% indicated that they're going to choose to come back to bricks and mortar when we open up. An additional 39% marked that they were unsure. At the end of this week, or early next week, we will be sending out a notification for parents to finalize their choice. Many of the parents who chose unsure is because they wanted additional information about what will school look like under COVID-19 protocols. So today in this press conference, we'll be providing a lot of that information. Also, schools have been pushing out that information through the school site as a lot has changed in the last 2 weeks. One of those changes is around a new policy that's really important for our parents and community to understand. It's called Student Protocol Policy 5.326 that the school board adopted last week. And some of the highlights of that particular policy include where students are not to come to school if they are ill and show any signs of COVID-19 symptoms, including a temperature of 100.4 degrees or higher, fatigue, muscle aches, etc. Also, we're requesting that parents self-screen their child at home prior to coming to school. And if they have a temperature, again, of 100.4 degrees or higher, they must not come to school. Also, you're going to see a lot of changes when students come on a school campus. So this includes where parents or students must abide to the 6 feet social distancing where applicable. Also, our administrators are reconfiguring their entire school campuses. So students must follow those new procedures, including potentially staggered arrival and dismissal times, limited movement throughout the campus, enhanced sanitization, changes in school cafeteria procedures, increased hand washing, and much more. Also, that students should not be sharing any of their school supplies with others, and they need to assist with keeping their desk and work area clutter-free and clean. One of the big questions that we're going on for some time is around the use of face coverings. So, face coverings are required for all students. The school district will provide up to 5 washable facial coverings per student. and they must comply with CDC guidelines. So that includes that they must be made of at least 3 layers of material, a breathable material, fit snugly, and wrap around the ears so that students, little demo here for you, so that students can be hands-free. The neck gaiters that you see out there, those bandanas, mesh materials, valves, or holes are not acceptable on our school campuses, is not approved by CDC. Also, any exemptions or accommodations that may be needed for some students must be verified by treating licensed medical physicians as required by ADA in Section 504, and then turned into the school and agreed upon by a compliant 504 team. If a student tests positive for COVID-19, they will be immediately enrolled in distance learning. The student will be requested to provide a contact list of everybody that they came in close contact within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes. The school administration, besides alerting other school officials for increased sanitization of the affected areas, will notify any potential staff members and other students to also be enrolled in distance learning. The student who tested positive for COVID-19 may not report back to school until tested negative or isolated for 10 days and symptom-free. In addition, it came up last week at the school board meeting, we will be notifying the school community regarding any cases of positive COVID-19 through that school community. If a student exhibits any symptoms of COVID-19 while on school campus, we'll report to the clinic and evaluated by the school nurse. The school nurse will make the decision if this child needs to go home, and while waiting to go home, they will be placed in a separate isolation area to not expose anyone else on the school campus. And it's really important that any consequences to not following this policy will follow our student code of conduct policy. In addition, students may be enrolled to distance learning. Tomorrow, our school board will take action on a proposed emergency policy for visitors. This is also new. The district is going to greatly limit and monitor the flow of non-essential visitors, volunteers, and activities involving external groups, organizations on our school campuses. Access to any district property will be limited to current students, current staff, pre-approved, I must mention, pre-approved parents, guardians, and guests, vendors, and contractors. All of these invited guests, again, must have pre-approval from the principal or designee. No other visitors will be permitted on school campus at this time. Until this policy is repealed, parents and guardians will not be able to participate in classroom activities or programs such as room parents and back-to-school events in order to promote the health and safety of students and our families. Also, any of those pre-approved visitors who are coming on our campus must self-screen at home prior to coming to our campus. Again, if they have a temperature of 100.4 degrees or higher, they are not to report to the campus. Also, they should not come if they've tested positive in the past 14 days, had close contact to someone who has tested positive for COVID-19 in the past 10 days, and again, if they have any of the symptoms described earlier. When they do arrive on a campus, they will be screened, they will have their temperature checked, and if, again, 100.4 degree or higher, they will be immediately sent home and answer some mandatory screening questions. And, of course, the wearing of facial coverings for our visitors is required as well. So, in conclusion, our school administrators are busy right now reconfiguring those school campuses to accommodate for social distancing guidelines. This including separating student desks 6 feet apart where possible, as well as other ancillary space. They are also establishing new procedures on how students will arrive to school and how students will be dismissed, and how they will move throughout their campus each day. They will be providing orientations for a specific physical layout of each campus as we get closer to when we do open for bricks and mortar. At this time, I'll open it up for any questions on the content of which was covered.
First up is Stephanie with Channel 5.
Seeing no questions, at this time I'd like to introduce,
Can you hear us?
I can't hear. I can't hear anything up here.
Mic check, mic check.
Now I can hear.
There we go. Hi, Mr. Oswald. This is Stephanie Suskind from Channel 5. How are you?
Good, how are you, Stephanie?
Good, good to see you. When you're talking about reconfiguring the campuses for students coming back, will that affect the class sizes? You know, if you can't fit as many kids into one class because the desks are separated, could there already be more students expected in that classroom? How would that work?
Yes, so a number of things that we are working through. So one, I mentioned earlier that those parents need to finalize their decisions that marked unsure. So that will help each particular school have a better understanding of exactly how many students are reporting back to campus. There are a number of ways that schools are working to problem solve where there would be potentially fewer kids in a classroom. So one, they would use other ancillary space such as music rooms, art rooms, there's just other rooms throughout a campus that have a larger square footage than a particular classroom. In addition, what we're working on too, when we go back to bricks and mortar, where some students may physically be present in the classroom, other students may be there through remotely through the Google Classroom. So a teacher may essentially be up teaching the class with some students, again, physically there, some there remotely, again, to accommodate for fewer students physically in the particular classroom. So again, what's going to be really important, I can't stress enough, for when we send this information out for families to finalize their decisions so our administrators can make those final decisions.
Hi, this is Waukesha with Channel 25 News.
Hi, Keisha.
How are you? So Palm Beach County could potentially go into phase 2 in September. That's what commissioners are meeting about right now. Part of the reopening plan is that you would reopen campuses, brick and mortar, within a week where parents can decide if they're going to send their kids back to school or continue with distant learning. Any chance that you would extend that, where you would keep campuses closed any longer?
At this time, there's nothing that we've been discussing at this time. So we're just monitoring the situation daily.
Hi, this is Stephanie with CBS 12. You said that whenever a student tests positive, they would be immediately moved to distance learning. So does that mean, can parents expect you to close down classrooms, close down schools?
Yes, so school administrators will work locally with the Department of Health as well as a number of different departments here at the school district to make those type of decisions. If a student is in a situation where they were more self-contained and isolated from the rest of the campus, we could look at potential closures of just a classroom or two versus if it's a student where potentially more students and staff are potentially exposed, where we would make a decision of whether or not the entire campus would close. So each of those would be evaluated depending on the particulars of that case.
Hey, Mr. Oswald, it's Andrew with the Palm Beach Post. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what you said earlier about how a classroom would look when you have some students in online learning and some are in the classroom, brick and mortar? Is one teacher teaching both at the same time? Are they actually both in the classroom, watching the class at the same time? How does that work? What's that dynamic like in the actual classroom?
So for that particular model, again, there's a number of different models. So, thanks to the referendum and to our voters who support that, the majority of our classrooms have a large flat panel, as you see in this room. And so potentially, and all those have webcams, so potentially a webcam would be on the teacher teaching the same lesson to both students remotely and teaching students who are physically in a classroom. So here's my class of cameras out here that I'm teaching to, and then essentially the webcam would be also on me, so the students that are up there on the screen would also see what I am teaching. And then essentially teaching both at the same time.
One quick follow-up to that. You said in that mode, so is it possible there'll be some teachers who are doing just online and some are doing just brick and mortar? Do you expect, if your teacher is your assigned teacher, you're going to be with them no matter whether you're online or not?
Yeah, that's important information to have of what our parents are deciding. So in some cases where maybe more students are choosing to stay in distance learning, families are choosing that, there may be more teachers who are able, and the school is able to accommodate social distancing, where they are just teaching solely distance remotely for our students.
No further questions for Mr. Oswald.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Glenda Sheffield, Chief Academic Officer.
Good morning. As Mr. Oswald indicated, distance learning will look much different than what it did at the end of this last school year. These changes were made based on the feedback that we received from parents, students, teachers, and school-based leaders. Some of the changes within the distance learning environment that you will see will be that teachers will strictly adhere to the approved scope and sequence for classes where applicable. Live instructions will be required every day, every class period. A distance learning instructional expectation has been developed for each level. That's at the elementary, middle, and high school level. Within these expectations are the instructional core content areas, accounting for the required daily instructional minutes, meaning that the expectation is that our students will be participating in live instruction in the areas of ELA, the math, science, some social studies, and continuation with their electives as well. Live instruction will be recorded every day. It is important to note that the recording of these live lessons does not exempt students from attending their classes during the required scheduled time. The recording was important to us that it will assist students with their enrichment and/or remediation should they need to go back for extenuating circumstances as it pertaining to reviewing that days of lessons. Attendance will be taken every day, every class period. All schools will operate on a normal bell schedule with the expectation that students will be participating in class, their subject content areas during their scheduled time. Students will be expected to log into their classes on time each day. A comprehensive attendance policy and procedural protocols, it has been established, and it is aligned with the district's current attendance policy of 5.09. Office hours will take place each day for our parents and our students. It is important to note to our parents and students that they will have to email their teacher to request an appointment during the teacher's designated office hours. The expectation for students is that they will be actively engaged in the student work and or small group and or individual sessions when feasible during distance learning. As I mentioned earlier, all schools will be utilizing the district scope and sequence. In doing so, students will be participating in ongoing unit assessments when appropriate. The purpose of these assessments is to inform teaching and learning. Because assessments are used to inform teaching and learning, it is extremely important that we stress as a district academic honesty. Our fabulous teachers are committed to maximizing the instructional opportunities for our students, and we would need accurate data to do so that academic honesty is going to help us to gather the academic data that is needed. The assessment will also provide strong indicators for teachers on where the instruction needs to be differentiated for our students and what additional instructional services may be required. In addition to our unit assessments, it is important that I mention that with the district's instructional scope, the curriculum team have embedded last spring's standards into this upcoming fall scope, as it will allow for reteaching of the academic standards from last spring. We do recognize as a district that we are not just combating the instructional gaps from summer slide, but also the COVID-19. To assist with closing the instructional gaps, students will have the opportunity for small group instruction ongoing tutorials before school, after school, ongoing support services from other school-based personnel and school staff. PD trainings, it's been focusing on innovative strategies for increasing the instructional pedagogy during distance learning. And we have PD opportunities that are currently being held now during preschool for our teachers. The PD required for teachers opened up on July 6th. We were excited to see how many of our teachers took part of the required PD training in July and not wait until this week of preschool. This is a true testament to the outstanding work and determination of the teachers. They have been planning all summer on this distance learning platform. PD opportunities will continue to be provided to the teachers throughout the year. In addition to the PD trainings and opportunities for our teachers, we as a district, we're just excited about the how-to videos that have been prepared for our parents and students as well. As we enhance the instructional platform of distance learning, it was also important to us to continue the mental health and behavioral services for our students and families. During the COVID-19 crisis, students experienced disruptions to their routines, fear, isolation, and uncertainty. Students and families need to know that it is okay if they are doing okay. We want our students and families to know that it is okay to not be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. Schools have highly trained and skilled professionals in place to support students' mental health and well-being during this time. Working together, these professionals expand and enhance school-based mental health services for students. The district employs school counselors, school psychologists, school behavioral health professionals, family counselors, and licensed mental health professionals. Through our outstanding division of student wellness, many schools have co-located mental health professionals in place to provide ongoing individual counseling, teletherapy to students at no cost to their families. The Caring First website is available to remove barriers for students and families by providing access to students that improve the social, emotional, behavioral, and academic development of all students. We ask our families to follow the Student and Parent tab from the district homepage to research and identify resources for many common concerns that they may have. It is extremely important to me that I mention that all ESE service providers, our teachers, our therapists, and all the other professionals within our ESE program will have contacted parents by the end of this week to establish a distance learning plan for our students that are in our ESE programs. All IEP services will begin on August 31st, the first day of school. We have secured additional PPE for staff working with students with significant medical concerns for when they return to brick and mortar. Professional development and virtual office hours have been in place to support our ESE service providers, our teachers, and other ESE staff across this district for district learning and for when they return to brick and mortar. The ESE department, currently we have 61 courses being offered to support teachers as we prepare to go virtual this year. Thus far, 15,497 teachers are enrolled in one or more of these sessions. And these sessions are to include our ESE curriculum, this distance learning plan, how to navigate and prepare a distance learning plan for their students, and how to navigate through some of our assistant technology. And the list goes on. It is important to note that all schools will be sending out correspondence to parents and students and highlighting expectations for their school centers. Teachers will be contacting students and providing Google Classrooms, sign-in codes, and other pertinent information. It is extremely important that parents and students update their contact information so that they receive all necessary communication. Communication is the key during this season of distance learning. And in closing, extracurricular activities will be held virtually when feasible. In distance learning, athletics at this time is on hold. The district is continuously monitoring and evaluating the opportunity to safely return to athletics. This is just an overview of how our distance platform will look for the upcoming year. Each day, we're continuing to receive constructive feedback and to adjust accordingly. We are very much appreciative of our teachers, our school leaders, our principals, on working with us on building a more robust distance learning educational platform for our students. We will continue to work together with our Classroom Teachers Association as our goal, our ultimate goal, is to create an environment that is safe for everyone while educating our students during these unforeseen times. I thank you. At this time, are there any questions? At this time, I will introduce Mr. Mike Burke, our Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, Mary Luz. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to brief you this morning on some of the important investments the school board has made to prepare for this incredibly unique school year. First, on computers, the school board has invested $25 million to purchase 82,000 computers and bring our district to a 1-to-1 student-computer device ratio. That's been a goal for some time, and we've expedited that in this year's budget. The challenge is we are not alone. There's school districts across the world trying to get computers with distance learning, and the COVID-19 pandemic interrupted production in China. So getting these devices has proved to be a challenge. We've been very proactive at that, and we're working at it each day. So I want to give you a little breakdown on what we are able to accomplish and what we will continue to work on in the weeks ahead. So you may recall back in the spring when we shifted to distance learning, we handed out over 62,000 computers to our students, and the vast majority of those computers remain with our kids. The students that graduated, the seniors, we got those computers back, but most of those 62,000 are still out there with our families, and we're counting on those to be ready to go the first day of school. On top of that, we had about 40,000 computers across our district that we made available for deployment to start this school year, and now we're handing out those 40,000, and we have about 19,000 brand new devices that are coming in each day, and that will be here before school starts on Monday. So the deployment is ongoing. It's going to continue right through the weekend, and then it'll actually be going on after that. So if you add that up, you get to about 120,000 computers that we have available to start the school year. Now, we've got roughly 175,000 kids, so there is a gap, but we're encouraged, based on our experience in the spring and some surveys, we estimate about 75,000 of our computers, 75,000 of our students own their own personal device. So we're really looking for those families that have the means and that have computers available for their kids to help us bridge that gap in the short term. And we are going to continue to receive our new order of 82,000 computers. We're getting about 10,000 a week, and we will continue to make those available. So by the time we get to October, we would have enough computers for everyone. But again, to start the school year, we do have this gap. It should work out, hopefully, with the families that have computers already, and we're working through that with the schools on an individual basis. So if parents are concerned, they should reach out to their school, and the IT department is working very closely with the schools and the regional offices. The next topic I want to talk about is internet connections. And we learned this as a district, we learned this as a country, that there is a significant digital divide in our society. And this is some really exciting work, and I have to give credit to Mr. Mark Howard for spearheading this effort. He led multiple departments. We have an educational technology department, an information technology department. We had our purchasing department, our legal department, all working together to try to address this need. And our school board recently approved 2 contracts for $2.1 million with Comcast and T-Mobile. And what that will allow us to do is to provide free internet for about 20,000 students. And we feel like that was the need based on our experience in the spring. So we're in a pretty good shape there, and those internet accounts are being deployed along with the devices, and that's already underway. So that was some really positive news I felt, where we're kind of really trying to tackle a societal problem. On top of those two contracts, our school district has also partnered with the county government. And the county government's been very gracious, and they're using about $10 million of their CARES Act funds on a large-scale Wi-Fi project that will ultimately reach about 36,000 of our students. This is a big project, infrastructure project. It's going to take, it'll be rolling between now and December in phases, but again, when it's done, it'll reach about 36,000 kids, and 25,000 of those kids are eligible for free and reduced lunch. And so we think that's going to also help address this need on an ongoing basis. The other big topic is kind of PPE, or personal protective measures, other things we're doing to enhance cleaning and doing everything we can to mitigate the health risk for our students and staff. And the school board has bought face coverings, as Mr. Oswald mentioned. We'll have 5 available for every student. We also have face coverings available for all of our employees, as well as clear face shields. We've loaded up on hand soap, paper towels. Our schools have been given allocation to buy hand sanitizers. We've bought signage to help with traffic flow and social distancing on our campuses. We've bought enhanced cleaning equipment for our buses and campuses. And all of that right now is at about $11 million. And I expect that figure to continue to grow to some extent throughout the school year. Hopefully not exponentially, but just being realistic, some of these items, they're consumable, and we'll probably have to churn through them. So if you add up, on top of these safety measures, we've also invested in training. And we've provided our teachers with an extra 2 days to help prepare for the school year with the online format and just being there for our kids on a social emotional level. And those 2 days, we have a large workforce. That's about $8.8 million. And then we had select school support staff that we needed to work a little more to prepare for the school year, and that's about $2 million. So if you add up everything I've mentioned here as far as PPE, cleaning materials, the extra training time, and the computers, you get to about $47 million. And that's a sizable expense, no matter how big your budget is. That's a hefty lift, and our school board's been committed to making sure we have funds available for all those important needs. That leads me to my final topic, and you can't give me a microphone in this type of forum and not get away without some type of budget update. Unfortunately, the budget update and the budget outlook for next 2 years is dismal. We've been concerned that, at some point, the budget's going to be reduced at the state level. The budget that was approved by the legislature in March and by the governor in July was based on revenue forecasts that were prepared in January, well before the impact of COVID-19. So on August 14th, the state economists updated their revenue forecast. And as you would expect, they were considerably lower. Now, they weren't as bad as they may have been, but it's still significant. And for the current year that we're about to start, the state's short about 9.9% of their revenue, or $3.4 billion. And that's expected. The following school year, we're expecting another decline of about $2 billion, or 5.6%. So I'm going to have a workshop with the school board tomorrow and dig into this more. But when I look back at the Great Recession, we lost about $100 million to Palm Beach County schools in the first 2 years. And based on this latest estimate from the state, I estimate we could lose as much as $144 million between this upcoming school year and the following FY22 school year. So the situation is very serious. The legislature has not convened a special session yet, but there's a great likelihood that that'll occur after the November elections, and we will be dealing with some type of mid-year budget reduction. So anyway, I just feel like that's important to keep people informed. We're very transparent about our funding situation, and hopefully I haven't taken too much energy out of the room with the excitement of a new school year. I would like to open it up for any questions at this point.
One moment.
Hey, Mr. Burke, it's Andrew from the Palm Beach Post. On the internet connectivity issue, you mentioned the contracts with Comcast and I think T-Mobile. So if there's a student or a family that doesn't have internet now, what can I do to get connected with one of those companies?
They should work through their school principal or the school administration. And Mr. Howard, we've got we're working directly to support the schools, and the schools in turn are the best method of contact for the families.
No further questions for Mr. Burke.
All right, well, thank you. And now I have a very positive thing to do. I get to introduce my good friend and my partner here, the Chief Operating Officer, Ms. Wanda Paul. Wanda?
Good morning, everyone. That's a hard act to follow. I would like to let you know that we've been extremely busy since we left mid-March. I want to tell you some positive things we've done with the 2016 sales tax referendum. We've expended $203 million on construction projects to include the fabulous new Verde K-8 school that will open this fall. In addition, we have the South Tech major renovation at the old old Odyssey site, rather, and so that will open this fall. In addition, a new adult ed center that is substantially completed, and the project is in its final phase. Ongoing modernizations include Washington Elementary School, Addison Meisner Elementary, Jupiter High School, where we've added 26 modular classrooms there, and 11 will be active for use this fall. In addition, we have numerous security projects that are still ongoing and many minor projects. In our maintenance department, we have over 16 maintenance projects that are across the district, in addition to supporting other routine maintenance in our buildings. Our custodial services department, in addition to the normal summer cleaning and stripping and waxing that we're accustomed to, they will continue to clean and sanitize all of our campuses and ancillary facilities throughout the school year. Again, we have enhanced cleaning on all high-touch areas. We have scheduled restroom sanitizing and stocking of supplies throughout the day, and we will continue the monthly inspections to ensure that our students and staff are safe and have a clean environment. In regards to our transportation department, our maintenance transportation employees have been very busy in making sure that our buses are kept in superior order. They've done a lot of preventive maintenance on the buses throughout this period of time. Our buses will be conducting mock runs this Friday, August 28th. Buses will be rolling from as early as 5 a.m. through 9:30 a.m., and then from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. They are big yellow buses, and as I ask every year, please do not hit them. We need every one of them. Buses will be sanitized bi-weekly, and bus drivers and attendants will help us sanitize the high-touch areas on the buses between the routes. 50 buses, this is a major accomplishment for us, 50 buses are equipped with Wi-Fi and may be used to serve areas as soon as August 31st. So that's been a major undertaking. In addition, we'll roll out our student registration pilot program for bus riders, and that's forthcoming. What that means is basically we'll, in concert with our food service department, we'll have a barcode for every student. As they enter the bus, we'll know who's riding the bus. The date will be released on the district website, and parents will receive a call with details on this program. We will not turn away a bus driver or a bus rider, so I want to make that clear. It's a way that we can account for our kids on the buses in case we have a COVID situation. School food service, since March 16th, our school service personnel, food service personnel have served over 4.6 million meals and provided over 195,000 boxes of food through our Food for Families initiative. So I want to thank the team for working throughout the summer to make sure that our students are fed and the community is fed. In addition, we are currently serving in 133 sites on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 o'clock to 1 p.m. Beginning September the 1st, we will be open for grab-and-go meals in 174 sites from 11 o'clock a.m. to 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Because we are returning to school, the USDA now mandates that we match a student to each meal. When coming through to pick up meals, parents and our students will need to provide either their student badge, a barcode letter, or their student number to receive a meal. An email is being sent to all students and parents with a barcode letter. Additionally, the letter can be found on the student's portal. Meals must be provided based on current meal status. Any money owed for the meal will be charged to their student account, and we are asking parents to go online to make payments. You can get all this information that I've just said on the district website. Meal applications are currently being accepted for meals benefits. The online application can be found on the school food service website. So that pretty much concludes my portion of the briefing. I want to thank all of our operations employees, the division, for outstanding work and keeping the business of the district moving forward. At this time, I'll take any questions.
Just one moment.
Hi, this is Stephanie from Channel 5. Just wanted to check on some of the procedures for students when they're back at brick and mortar on buses, if there'll be temperatures taken, masks required, or social distancing.
So again, on riding the buses, we don't have enough drivers and we don't have enough buses to actually have total social distancing, but we are requiring that all bus riders wear facial coverings. And in addition to that, when they're at the bus stop, it's important that they keep social distance from each other.
No further questions for Ms. Paul.
Okay. At this time, I would like to invite our Chief of Police, Chief Kitzrow, to the podium.
Good morning. Just want to give you some updates on what the school police department is currently doing while we're in a virtual environment, and talk a little bit about what we anticipate as we move to the bricks and mortar environment. But before I do that, I just want to take a minute to thank all those men and women of the school police department who are out there on the front lines every day, despite the pandemic, to make sure that we're supporting operations and doing the things that we need to do. And as you heard Ms. Paul talk about a couple minutes ago, with the 4.6 million meals served and our custodial staff who are also out there on the front lines every day, I would like to say a big thank you to them as well. So thank you for all that you do. I see our food services director, Ms. Allison Montplo, back there, so thank you. Currently in a virtual environment, the school police department has been serving as a coordination point for all departments as it relates to school safety and security issues, predominantly working through what we call our Tactical Operations Center. Every day we implement incident action plans for security at interactive school and ancillary sites, engaged in many of the special events that you've heard about today, like the electronic device and school supply distribution. We provide safety and security for the food distribution sites, and also the special events that come up, for example, the 120 voting sites, and we planned and implemented a small number of our COVID-19 hurricane shelters, as you already know. We work at facilitating the opportunity for in-person speakers for the school board meeting, and provide security for our teachers and staff as they're on campus working through their events. Basically serve as a centralized command for major safety issues affecting the district. We do host daily security briefings with department members, live video presentations, facilitate meetings with district personnel, and a host of other things. So you can see it's a pretty busy environment that we're working in at the moment. That's just a small number of things that we're doing. As we get ready to transition now into what eventually will be our bricks and mortar environment. I just want to tell you that we've been preparing for this first day of school since the beginning of the pandemic. So everything that we've been doing, we're building on to make sure that we're ready to go for the first day of school. We've actually been in a special operations mode for 165 days today, and so we're becoming quite proficient at it. During the summer, our officers have been undergoing a significant amount of training relating to school safety and navigating through the challenges associated with working in a pandemic environment. The whole concept of safety has changed, and so have we. We have spent a great deal of time focusing our efforts on the prevention side of the equation while strengthening our response capabilities as well. One of the big things for us that we've been enhancing to an even greater level is our threat assessment capabilities, to get out in front of any particular threats before they have an opportunity to occur. We've also been leveraging technology. Thank you to the district. Mr. Burke talked about some of this a little bit ago, but the investment in technology has enabled us to enhance our communication abilities at the school sites and throughout the district, conduct virtual briefings for all of our officers in the field, sharing of critical information both internally and externally with our law enforcement partners, conduct emergency and crisis planning that can be distributed at a moment's notice, and probably most of all, really enhance our crisis response capabilities. You know, as you've heard today from a safety perspective, as you can imagine, our campuses will look a little different from last year. One of the big differences that you'll see this year is why we still maintain a strong working relationship with our law enforcement partners. This will be the first time that we will have school police officers on every one of our campuses, and we'll be responsible for the safety and security of all of our campuses. Not only will our classes look different, as you heard, some of the rules will be different, so we can help maintain social distancing guidelines and avoid close contact with each other. As a reminder, Mr. Oswald talked about this, access to the campuses by parents and visitors will be extremely limited while we're in this pandemic environment, and will involve a screening process to access our buildings. As we transition into the brick and mortar environment again, it's important that we start rethinking and shaping the conversation a little bit, not only paying close attention to social distancing and COVID-19 implications, but we also need to be extra vigilant as it pertains to school safety and keeping our guard up in terms of potential school violence. In the school police department and as a district, we're prepared to do just that. We work very closely with our law enforcement and public safety partners, and we'll continue to work diligently throughout the school year to keep our children safe. And for parents and students, as you're making your decisions about whether or not to come back to bricks and mortars or virtual, I would offer this. While we've spent a lot of time talking about changes today, the one thing that is not going to change is our commitment to the safety and security of for you and your students, so that everyone has an opportunity to learn in a safe environment and provide each of our students with every opportunity to achieve their highest potentials. And when we get back on campus, please remember just a simple thing. What is school safety? I am school safety, you are school safety, and together we are all school safety. And with that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
No questions.
Okay. At this point in time, it's my privilege to introduce Dr. Gonzalo LaCava, who is our Human Resources Director.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief Kitzrow, for the introduction. First of all, I want to say good morning to the media, the parents, the students, and the community for being present with us during this presser. I just have a little bit of information to share with you, but I have to tell you, I'm very excited about the beginning of the school year. Even though it's going to look very different, I'm excited. This is probably one of my favorite times of the school year, getting back, and I know that my kids are excited somewhat. I know that they've been in been at home for quite a bit of time, and they're ready to do some learning. And I know that they're ready when the time is right and it's safe to get back to, brick and mortar and, participate in some social activity and be part of being part with their friends and their teachers as well. So exciting times. So HR hasn't stopped working since the pandemic really got kicked off. We've been recruiting. We've been making sure that we have employee protocols that keep our employees safe. And so let me share a little bit about that. I'm going to just share quickly some brief numbers so you know where we're at in regards to teachers and staff. So far, our threshold is always 2.0% or lower for vacancy rate. At this moment, we're at 1.5, and it's very parallel to what we were doing last year at this time. Last year, the first day of school, we were at 1.3 vacancy rate. So those numbers are holding. So that's very good for the district. That's very good for our students, having a teacher, in front of them, a quality teacher in front of them. The other thing is that we continue to have challenges in hiring special education teachers. This is not only a Palm Beach County challenge, but it's also a nationwide challenge. But we're continuing to recruit and make sure that we have quality special education teachers. And then due to the vast number of elementary educators, we're looking for about 57 elementary school teachers right now as well. So if you're interested, if you're watching and you're interested in teaching, please make sure that you look at our website, the Palm Beach County School website, go to careers and see the list of vacancies that we have there as well. In regards to our schools, we have about, I would say 12 of our schools that have 4 or more vacancies right now. That's a pretty good number since we have 170 plus schools in this district. So we are working very diligently to make sure that they're fully staffed before the beginning of the year. This was a very challenging year in working in the state because a lot of our agencies were closed. So we've had to kind of experience some challenges and kind of, overcome some barriers, but we are there and we're trying to process teachers as quickly as possible. And we hope to have all of our teachers processed by the first day of school. So I just want to congratulate my HR team for all the work that they put in doing this. This is a lot of time and effort into doing this. The other thing is a lot of parents and probably a lot of individuals are probably wondering, do we have enough teachers in phase 1? And the answer is yes. We do not see, or I do not see any significant increases in retirees or people resigning or people leaving the district. In fact, I believe that we are going to have a good number of teachers in front of our students virtually. And when we flip the switch to phase 2, there is no indicators that tell me or anybody else that we have a significant increase in retirees or leaves. So I do believe that we are going to be very well in regards to the amount of teachers that we have in front of students as well. In the case that we do see a significant increase in retirees or our teachers resigning or leaving, we have been working very hard in filling our substitute pool this summer. We have over 3,000 substitutes. They're part of the training, the Google training, the Google Teach. We are working with them to make sure that they don't lose a beat and that the students get a quality education as well. So very, very excited about the work that we are doing in that realm and that area. And then finally, teacher safety and health is our #1 priority. I know that we talked about student priority. So in late March, early April, we had emergency protocols that were put into place. The board voted on them to make sure that there are safety guidelines, that teachers understand and staff understand what they need to do with social distancing and face masking, and making sure that if they do become infected by COVID-19, what they need to do, the process that they need to do and the steps that they need to take. And then the new protocols that we are establishing that are in the developmental phases right now that are going to be pushed out hopefully in mid-September are just expanded a little bit more. We are looking at, we've been looking at CDC guidelines, Fortune 500 companies. We've been working with the medical community to make sure that we are, our journey is going in the right direction. So we are very comfortable that we are protecting our teachers. We want to make sure that our teachers and staff are protected and they're safe when they come back. And, that's the #1 priority, our teachers. And with that, my final piece, that there's going to be training throughout the district in regards to the COVID protocols. Everyone in the district will need to be trained. They will know everything that they need to know about face masking and how to report and the responsibilities for administrators. So with that, I'm open for questions, and thank you very much for your time.
Just
one moment, Dr. LaCava.
Hi, Dr. LaCava, it's Andrew with the Palm Beach Post. Question about when you all moved to brick and mortar, how many teachers, if any, will be dedicated to just doing distance learning? And do you think it'll be more or less than the number who may prefer to be just in distance learning? Do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, so there was a survey that was pushed back to the district, I think last week, and it said about 60% of our teachers want to go back into brick and mortar and 30% are unsure. So we're continuing to really peel the onion on that to know for sure who, from those teachers that are unsure, who will be returning to us. So right now, we're just digging into data and making sure that we have the right indicators to let us know what we need to do as our next steps to filling those vacancies if indeed it happens.